rapidly becoming a house divided. And you should all be ashamed of yourselves. It's about time you pulled yourselves together and called a truce to this civil war. And that's an order.
Mike Brady, November 6, 1970. Here is the story of a man named Brady. Indeed, of the House of Brady. It is a singularly American chronicle, one that still strikes chords that resonate today. The parallels are striking. The Civil War pitted brother against brother. Brady pitted brother against sister. The Mason-Dixon line divided our nation. The white line across their bedroom divided Peter from Bobby. Jefferson Davis was central to the Confederacy's hopes, and B. Davis was the center square. Matthew Brady was a brilliant Civil War photographer whose stark portraits, like this one, spoke eloquently of a national tragedy. But it was Greg Brady who took the photograph of the cheerleader Lynette that revealed that Westdale High's receiver was, in fact, inbounds when he caught the game-winning touchdown.
The lives of the Bradys must be seen as a series of threats to the Union. Each crisis, each rebellion, must be resolved by the others to restore the happy status quo, to reestablish the nine-parted Union.
The demand for autonomy seemed an imperative.
I'll show 'em. I'm not gonna stay where I'm not wanted. I'm gonna run away. That's what I'm gonna do. Run away.
Bobby Brady, December 5th, 1969. The election of that same year would prove a turning point. The nation focused with anticipation on the great debate between Greg and Marcia.
Fellow students, I had a prepared speech, but I'm not going to use it, and for a very good reason. I have reconsidered my candidacy. My opponent has more experience than I do in school government. Besides, I think he's real groovy. If those of you who helped in my campaign really want to elect the best president for the job, it's Greg Brady, brother or not.
Marcia Brady, speech before the student body, December 12th, 1969. October 24th, 1969. Jan seems to be allergic to Tiger, the boy's dog. Must Tiger be taken away? Must the boys make this ultimate sacrifice to the unity of the bunch?
When the ensemble discovered that the allergy was not to Tiger, but to his flea powder, I think we all breathed a collective sigh of relief. Ironically, of course, Tiger made a few more appearances, so getting lost, hiding toys, but within a few months was gone, disappeared, without explanation.
Throughout all their crises, the Bradys stayed together, but that is just a part of their legacy. Today, it is hard to imagine a time when Brady was not a part of our daily lives, our national experience. But there was a beginning, origins that lay here in the bright, sunlit suburbs of Southern California. Elsewhere, 1969 was a year of turmoil. The Beatles broke up, and later in that same year, so did the Monkees.
Dear Marcia, I want to thank you for your interest in my career. If I'm ever in town, I'll be happy to show you my appreciation anytime. With best wishes, your friend always, Davy Jones.
Letter from Davy Jones to Marcia Brady.
I had made a promise to you, you know. It was a real fluke that I happened to be recording an album in Marcia's hometown. I was just glad that I could help the prom committee by playing the gig.
How much were the Bradys a response to the cultural upheavals of the era? How much were the Bradys simply a groovy family?
I believe the Bradys healed America, providing a beacon of unity after the dark divisiveness of the 60s. Look at their world. The Hawks hated the Doves, The generation gap had just been discovered. Feminism even pitted male versus female by threatening traditional gender roles.
Well, if we're all supposed to be created equal, I guess that means girls as well as boys.
Marcia Brady, February 12, 1971.
The boys learned to get along with the girls. The older kids learned to get along with the younger, encouraging us all to become, as a nation, a Brady bunch. It's all about healing, about recovery. The symbolic meaning is right there. Look at the architecture. Look at the stairs. That's right, 12. The Bradys are a 12-step program to recovery. We could all benefit by looking at them and ourselves more closely.
The Bradys were exemplars of unity, yet they were individuals. From Greg to Cindy, each Brady had unique rites of passage, their own problems to confront, their own lessons to be learned. February 20th, 1970, Peter is declared a hero for pulling a little girl out of harm's way. The unfortunate consequence is that he gets a swelled head. Only the others can bring his ego back under control. October 29th, 1971, Marcia suffers self-doubt until cast as Juliet in Shakespeare's tale of star-crossed lovers. She develops a swelled head. January 12th, 1973, Bobby is made a safety monitor at school. He, too, gets a swelled head. March 16th, 1973, Cindy is set to appear on a kids' TV quiz show. The result? Head swelled. September 14th, 1973, Greg, Johnny Bravo, swelled head. Finally, the last is Jan. She is elected most popular girl in her class. The result, of course, is a swelled head, which for Jan was truly a crisis.
Jan's victory as Miss Popular is really rather extraordinary. More than any other Brady, her search for self was desperate and seldom hopeful.
Well, all I hear all day long at school is how great Marcia is at this, or how wonderful Marcia did that. Marcia, Marcia, Marcia. Marcia, Marcia, Marcia.
Well, it's like trying to put socks on a rooster, don't you know? But our sympathy, our empathy is always with Jan. We identify. We're all neither of us the first nor the last. Others have come before us. Others will come after us. We're all stuck in the middle. We're all Jan.
Jan's efforts to redefine herself were constant.
Oh, I think I remember just about everything Jan did. Those tap dancing lessons, the freckle remover, remember that? Even that horrendous wig, was it brunette? And then, of course, the time when she really became quite an irrepressible practical joker. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jan.
Jan tried everything, finally attempting through sheer effort to live her life as if she were an only child. But the fates seemed turned against her.
Glasses? Oh, Mom, no, not glasses. I look positively goofy.
Jan Brady, Christmas Eve, 1971. Though change was constant, there was always a moral core, an affirmative center to the Brady universe.
There was really only one time that Mike and Carol were pitted one against the other. You remember when little Cindy gets to be in a school play? She only gets one ticket, so only one parent can go. Well, this causes all sorts of problems. But nobody asks the real question. What sort of school is this? What sort of pea pickers would give all the first graders one ticket each?
Mike and Carol were not only the moral, but also the emotional core of the family, always there for their children.
No one is a better reverse psychologist than Mike. I'm familiar with reverse psychology, and I can assure you of his therapeutic expertise. Bobby wants to run away. Mike asks if he has any money. makes sure he takes some food, asks him what his plans are. Finally, Bobby asks in wonderment, "You mean you're going to let me go?" Mike's work is done.
Now, I don't want to make a big thing about this, but your mother and I don't like what just happened.
Well, you've made it a contest between boys and girls. That isn't right.
We're going to be a family for a lot longer than either Marcia or Greg would be in office. Okay? You can go now.
The truly amazing pattern is of Mr. and Mrs. Brady's total supportiveness. It wasn't just that Carol believed Greg when he claimed the cigarettes in his pocket weren't his. When Marcia tries to get Davy Jones to play her prom, her parents don't criticize her for making a foolish promise, as well they might. Instead, they actually help her track down Mr. Jones's recording session and encourage their daughter to dress up as a bellhop and sneak into his hotel room. Extraordinary.
At whatever personal cost, few disagree that Mike and Carol were superb parents, dealing with a difficult family situation in which tensions were many. Though verbal sparring was common, casualties were few. But then came the Battle of Clark Tyson.
After what you did yesterday when Clark and I were studying, and you came slinking in. You came in there on purpose, just to turn on your icky old charm.
Jan, if boys don't find you attractive, don't blame it on me.
The Brady's belief system did contain ambiguities. Jan's first crush, Clark Tyson, rejects her, and she thinks it must be the way she looks.
Yes! My crummy face. Greg was right. Rotten freckles.
She tries to purchase freckle remover. We expect the appearances are not important lesson, as in the glasses and braces homily. But in this case, Carol discovers the problem is the way she looks. When Carol suggests Jan wear a dress instead of looking like a tomboy, well, Clark flips for her. So how silly was the freckle remover, really? Essentially, Jan was right. It was the way she looked. Do we then need to re-examine the braces episode?
Braces can't change the feelings of a real friend, and they could never change the feelings of those who love you.
Carol Brady to her daughter, February 13th, 1970.
Yes. I thought that if you want to understand the Bradys, begin at the beginning, right? So to speak. We've essentially done a close computer-aided analysis of the beginning. Who's looking at who and for how long. Mrs. Brady, hair of gold as her daughters had. First look to Marcia, of course, the eldest daughter. Next is Jan, and finally the pigtailed and adorable Cindy. Next is Mike, the father, hair of not gold, more of a brownish. Looks first to Greg, the eldest son, and then Peter, the troubled middle youth, and finally at Robert, or Bobby, the youngest. Now they must form a family. That's the way they will become the Brady Bunch. Carol to Mike, Mike to Carol, in a loving look. Now this is where it gets interesting. Everyone is looking at everyone else. Peter out, Bobby over to Dad, Greg out. See, and then Jan was looking up at Carol, Cindy. Now this is the beautiful thing. It follows exactly the curve that chaos theory predicts. It is random. Perfectly random. Now, the other things we're working on at the moment, we're trying to establish if there was a toilet anywhere in the bathroom. There doesn't seem to be. Imagine that. The lawn is actually AstroTurf, but they do mow it on a semi-regular basis. But the big question that we're dealing with now is a statistical sociological curve of whether people like Jan or Marcia better. I like Jan, or Marcia.
Personally, I like Marcia. She was more mature.
I don't mean to seem ungrateful for the work that Marcia did with the fan club, but she was definitely groovy. But for me, all the time we were doing the show, it was Jan. It was always Jan.
I've always been a pro-Marcia man myself. I mean, who wouldn't be?
Marcia was ultimately about never being able to fit in and constantly trying to find her way. And Jen was always ratting on Marcia, which, you know, we have to overlook at some point.
Actually, my favorite is Cindy.
The young Cindy, though. I wish she was that age now.
Jan was a little psychotic. Marcia was a little flippant. I can't really make a choice.
Each Brady had their dreams, their aspirations. For Greg, it was baseball, and later rock and roll, the music of rebellion.
Oh, it's kind of a kicky blast. You guys really got it together and well, and bet they get out of shape.
Greg Brady, January 8th, 1971. It was through music that the Bradys found the truest outlet for the emotional storms of growing up in America. When it's time to change, you've got to rearrange who you are and what you're going to be. Lyrics, Time to Change by the Brady Six. Another important musical influence was to be found in Hawaii, our nation's 50th state, and the Brady's second major vacation. Tiny bubbles in the wine make me happy all the time. Don Ho, August 4th, 1971. It was here that Bobby Brady met Hawaiian native singer Don Ho, and it was here he whom Ho had helped first understood the tiki was taboo. The results are etched forever on the American consciousness. Greg's Wipeout. The tarantula on Peter. Alice's back going out during a hula lesson. But those fearful images were dispelled. We woke from our long national nightmare when Mike saved the day and the Brady clan gathered for a final luau and the blowing of the horn of brotherhood. Was Hawaii a feast or farewell? Did Brady ever conclude? For some, the arrival of Cousin Oliver signaled the end.
He said, wherever I go, terrible things happen, and they're right. I'm bad news.
Cousin Oliver, January 25th, 1974. But truly there was no end, no defeat, no Appomattox. The Brady legacy is with us today, an American legacy, and one that is continually evolving. There were the enduring songs as the Bradys offered their services to a nation hungry for variety entertainment. And like all of us, or some of us, or actually very few of us, the Bradys became animated cartoons. But in the end, Brady lives on because we live on. We can face up to getting braces. We can battle for the room in the attic. We can search for some way that we can earn our own trophy. We can turn out the light at night, knowing that we tried our hardest, that everything worked out in the end, and that in some larger sense, we truly can make the world a whole lot brighter.
Human nature will not change. In any future great national trial, we shall have as weak and as strong, as silly and as wise, as bad and as good. Abraham Lincoln, November 10th, 1864.
I know, but what happens next term?
What?
When we have to stage the whole Civil War.
Oh.